Hi knitters, it's Mimi with Pastiche Knitwear, and I'd like to show you how to do increases in brioche. This video goes along with my alfresco shawl, and if you're actually following that pattern, this is what you're going to do right away after you finish your garter tab cast on. So I'm going to go ahead and do the setup row that the pattern calls for. We have here a 3-stitch garter edge, so we're going to be knitting the first and last 3 stitches of every row. So now we're going to start the brioche, and so we're going to do a yarn forward and slip, knit 1, yarn forward and slip, and then we're going to knit our 3 at the end. Now let's take a look at what we have here, and we'll see that we have 2 brioche stitches here, these paired stitches right here and here, and we have our 3 edge stitches here, and then we have 1 plain stitch in the middle. Now just to recap, typically the brioche stitches we knit, and the single purl stitches there we do a yarn forward and slip. But in this case we need to start increasing right away, so instead of just knitting the brioche stitch, which is a bark, we're going to be doing a KYOK in the brioche stitch. So we're going to go ahead and knit our edge stitches here, and then do a KYOK. So we'll come into the stitch and we will knit, yarn over, knit in that stitch. Now if we take a look at this when we're finished, let me see if I can just open that up for you. You can see that you have 3 single stitches. Now sometimes they get caught on one another and you might have to open them up with your finger. You can see 3 single stitches and then a hole underneath it because it is a yarn over increase. And so now we're going to yarn forward and slip, and then let's do that KYOK in the brioche again. We're going to be doing these KYOK in the brioche in the first and last brioche on every right side row. Now this row is considered the right side row of the pattern. I would recommend that you just hang a hanging stitch marker on here just to help yourself keep track of where you are. So now we're going to turn it around and we're going to work the wrong side. So now we've got our 3 edge stitches, and then we're going to see those 3 individual stitches. Now again, if you look at this, this one almost looks like a brioche. It almost looks like we have side-by-side brioche stitches, but this is not a brioche, as you can see. Again, remember how if you pull down and you see the hole there, so you should have 3 individual stitches that you made when you made that KYOK. So now we're going to yarn forward and slip. We're going to knit the single stitch in the center, yarn forward and slip. Then we're back to our bark stitches, which just means we're going to knit the brioche and alternate the slip. Now let me stop here because we're already back down to the end with our 6 stitches remaining. This is our 3 from last row's KYOK. So I'm going to yarn forward and slip, knit the center stitch, and yarn forward and slip, and then I'm going to knit to the end. Now we're going to do this again, but now when I look at it, I have more brioche stitches in here. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 brioche stitches. Here are my edge stitches here. So I'm going to KYOK in the first and last brioche stitches, and then I'm just going to do my yarn forward and slip and bark, yarn forward and slip, bark, etc. I just keep my regular cadence when I'm doing that. So let's go ahead and work across this row. I want you to see this visually so that you can read your work as you go, because it helps tremendously to be able to do that. Now here's my first brioche, so I'm going to do my KYOK. Then I'm going to do yarn forward and slip, bark, yarn forward and slip, bark, yarn forward and slip, and I'm left with 1 brioche and 3 garter stitches, so I'm going to KYOK in that last brioche stitch and then work to the end. So you're just going to continue in this manner until you have 57 stitches on your needle. And I hope that this helps you, and give me a holler and let me know how you're doing.